The Billionaire's Silent Rebirth. My family can hear my thoughts. Volume 3 Chapter 1. The Invitation Beyond Time. 3 peaceful weeks passed. For the first time since his reincarnation, the world seemed calm. The miracle scanner continued saving lives across dozens of countries. The Global Future Initiative launched humanitarian projects around the globe. And Adrian finally enjoyed an ordinary high school life. At least, that was what everyone believed. Early Saturday morning, the Reyes mansion was unusually quiet. Adrian sat in the garden beside the koi pond, feeding the colorful fish. The cool morning breeze gently rustled the trees. He smiled faintly. Peace is nice. Inside the mansion, his family heard his thoughts. Grandma Teresa smiled. Our Adrian finally sounds relaxed. Lucas peeked through the window. I've never seen Kuya this peaceful. Victor quietly nodded. Let's keep it that way. Just then, a black luxury car silently stopped outside the mansion's gate. No company logo, no license plate, only a silver emblem shaped like an hourglass. The security guards immediately became alert. One elderly gentleman stepped out. He wore a dark gray suit and white gloves. His silver hair was neatly combed. His calm eyes held decades of wisdom. He bowed respectfully. I have a delivery. For Adrian Reyes. Minutes later, the family gathered in the living room. The old gentleman carefully placed a small black envelope on the table. The wax seal bore the same silver hourglass. Professor Emilio, who had arrived moments earlier, immediately stood. His expression changed. Chronos. Victor frowned. You know them. Professor Emilio slowly nodded. I've only heard stories. They never contact ordinary people. Adrian quietly looked at the envelope. The moment his fingers touched the seal, a strange feeling washed over him. This seal. I remember it. The family froze. Professor Emilio slowly looked toward Adrian. You've seen it before. Adrian remained silent, then quietly answered. In my previous life. The room became completely silent. He slowly opened the envelope. Inside, there was only a single sheet of black paper. Written in elegant silver ink were the words. To the one who changed his future. Your second life has been observed. You are not alone. Meet us where time remembers. Chronos. At the bottom, a date. Tomorrow. 8 p.m. Lucas blinked. What does that mean? Professor Emilio spoke quietly. Chronos is said to be an organization that watches history itself. Grandpa Raphael frowned. I thought they were only a legend. So did I, the professor admitted. That evening, Adrian sat alone on the balcony. He looked at the black invitation again. Chronos. Even in my first life. I only heard rumors. I never found them. He slowly closed his eyes. If they're contacting me now, something has changed. Inside the mansion, everyone heard every word. Victor quietly walked onto the balcony. He placed a hand on Adrian's shoulder. No matter what happens, you won't face it alone. Adrian looked at his father. A gentle smile appeared. I know. The next evening, exactly at 8 p.m., a black limousine arrived. Professor Emilio stood beside Adrian. I've been invited as your witness. Victor, Elena, Grandpa, Grandma, Lucas, and Olivia walked Adrian to the front gate. Grandma adjusted his school jacket. Don't skip dinner. Lucas hugged him tightly. Come home safely, Kuya. Adrian smiled softly. I will. The limousine drove deep into the mountains. Far from any city. Far from any village. After nearly 2 hours, it stopped before an enormous stone gate hidden within the cliffs. The gate slowly opened. Beyond it stood a breathtaking underground city. Crystal lights illuminated ancient halls. Modern technology blended seamlessly with centuries-old architecture. Hundreds of scientists, historians, inventors, and scholars walked quietly through the vast corridors. Above the entrance were engraved 4 words. Chronos, Guardians of Tomorrow. An elderly woman wearing a navy blue coat approached Adrian. She smiled warmly. Welcome, Adrian Reyes. We've been waiting. Across many futures. Adrian's calm expression finally changed. For the first time since his reincarnation, he was genuinely surprised. Many futures. The woman nodded. There are others. People who remember different timelines. Before Adrian could ask another question, A familiar voice echoed through the grand hall. So, you finally came. Adrian slowly turned around. Standing at the end of the corridor was a young woman about his age. Calm, elegant, quiet, she looked directly into his eyes, as if she had known him for years. Then she spoke the words that sent chills through Adrian's heart. In my future, you died saving the world. Silence filled the hall. Adrian realized he was no longer the only person carrying memories of another life. And his greatest journey had just begun. Chapter 2, The Girl Who Remembered Tomorrow. Silence filled the enormous hall of Chronos. Adrian stared at the young woman before him. She looked about his age. Long black hair, calm violet eyes, a composed expression that reminded him of himself. Neither of them spoke. They simply looked at each other. Finally, the girl smiled faintly. I've been waiting a long time to meet you. Adrian quietly asked. Who are you? The elderly woman who welcomed Adrian stepped forward. Allow me to introduce her. She is Evelyn Hart, the youngest member of Chronos. Just like you, she remembers another future. Professor Emilio's eyes widened. So the stories were true. There are others. Evelyn bowed politely. My future was different from yours. In my timeline, the world wasn't saved. Adrian's expression became serious. Tell me. Chronos escorted them into a circular meeting chamber. The room was unlike anything Adrian had ever seen. Thousands of floating holographic screens displayed different versions of history. Some showed peaceful cities. Others showed ruins. Some displayed thriving forests. Others, only endless darkness. Professor Emilio whispered. So these are different timelines. The elderly woman nodded. Every decision creates another possibility. Evelyn slowly walked toward one of the glowing screens. It displayed a burning city. In my future, the miracle scanner was never invented. Hospitals collapsed under overwhelming numbers of patients. Millions died from diseases that could have been prevented. Adrian quietly lowered his eyes. I see. She activated another screen. This one showed oceans swallowing coastal cities. In another future, no one stopped the disasters. Entire nations disappeared beneath the sea. Adrian remained silent. He remembered those tragedies from his first life. Then, Evelyn opened one final projection. Everyone froze. It showed Adrian, older, wearing a black suit, standing alone before a collapsing machine surrounded by brilliant light. Evelyn quietly spoke. You sacrificed yourself. You saved humanity. But, you never came home. Silence filled the chamber. Professor Emilio slowly removed his glasses. Even he had no words. Adrian looked at the image calmly. So there was a future like that. Inside the mansion, miles away, his family suddenly heard his thoughts. Grandma stopped preparing dinner. Victor slowly stood from his chair. Elena covered her mouth. Lucas whispered. Kuya. They had heard. Enough. Their son had once died saving the world. Back inside Chronos, Evelyn looked directly at Adrian. I don't want that future. I've spent my second life searching for you. So we can change it. Adrian quietly met her gaze. Together. She smiled. Together. Professor Emilio suddenly laughed. Both teenagers looked at him. He folded his arms proudly. Good. The world's greatest genius finally has someone who understands him. Adrian looked slightly embarrassed. She's the first person I've met who remembers another future. Evelyn giggled. So, even your thoughts are quiet. Adrian blinked. You can tell. She nodded. I've become good at reading people. For the first time, Adrian let out a small laugh. It wasn't loud, but it was genuine. Everyone inside the room smiled. The elderly woman handed them each a silver bracelet engraved with the Chronos hourglass. From today onward, you are both officially future walkers. Your mission is not to control history, but to protect humanity's future. Both nodded. Later that evening, Evelyn gave Adrian a tour of Chronos' headquarters. Ancient libraries, advanced laboratories, a museum containing inventions from countless timelines, training halls, research centers. Every room carried the same purpose. Protect tomorrow. They eventually reached a quiet rooftop garden. The stars shone brightly overhead. Neither of them spoke for a while. Finally, Evelyn smiled. You know, in every timeline, you always skip meals when you're thinking. Adrian looked surprised. Really? She laughed softly. You should eat more. At that exact moment, his stomach growled. Evelyn burst into laughter. Adrian's ears turned slightly red. That's embarrassing. Back at the Reyes mansion, the family heard every word. Lucas laughed so hard he nearly fell off the sofa. Grandpa pointed at the ceiling. Our genius grandson was defeated by his own stomach. Even Victor couldn't stop laughing. Grandma immediately prepared Adrian's favorite fried rice. He'll be hungry when he gets home. Late that night, before Adrian left Chronos, the organization's Grand Keeper handed him another sealed file. Do not open this until tomorrow. Adrian accepted it. Understood. The old man looked unusually serious. Inside is the greatest mystery we've ever discovered. Adrian nodded. As he and Professor Emilio stepped into the limousine, he quietly looked back. Evelyn stood at the entrance. She waved with a warm smile. Adrian gave a small wave in return. I'm glad I met her. For the first time since his reincarnation, Adrian no longer felt like he carried the future alone. But hidden deep beneath Chronos' headquarters, a forgotten chamber slowly awakened. Ancient machines hummed to life. A mechanical voice echoed through the darkness. Future walker synchronization detected. Second observer located. Initiating third observer search. Far away, someone else had just awakened. Chapter 3, The Library of Lost Futures. The following morning, Adrian stared at the sealed file the Grand Keeper had entrusted to him. It rested quietly on the table inside his room at the Reyes mansion. He hadn't opened it. Not yet. He said to wait until today. Downstairs, his family heard his thoughts. Lucas looked toward the ceiling. Kuya's mysterious files are getting scarier. Grandpa chuckled. Hopefully this one doesn't involve saving the world again. No one laughed. Deep inside, they all feared it might. After breakfast, a familiar black limousine arrived. Professor Emilio stepped out. So, ready? Adrian quietly nodded. Yes. Before leaving, Grandma handed him a lunch box. No matter what secret organization you're visiting, don't skip lunch. Adrian smiled. I won't. 2 hours later, Chronos' headquarters. The Grand Keeper greeted Adrian and Professor Emilio. Beside him stood Evelyn. She smiled. Good morning. Adrian returned a small nod. Morning. The Grand Keeper gestured toward the black file. You may open it now. Adrian carefully broke the silver seal. Inside, there was only one card. It read, Access granted. The Library of Lost Futures. Below it, another message. Only those who remember another timeline may enter. The Grand Keeper led them deep beneath Chronos. They descended through elevators that seemed to stretch endlessly underground. Eventually, massive golden doors came into view. Ancient symbols covered every inch of their surface. An enormous hourglass was carved into the center. The Grand Keeper placed his hand upon it. The doors slowly opened. Everyone stopped. The sight beyond them was breathtaking. An endless underground library. Shelves stretched farther than the eye could see. Millions of glowing books floated gently through the air. Blue, silver, gold, black. Each color represented a different type of timeline. Professor Emilio whispered. Impossible. The Grand Keeper smiled. This is the Library of Lost Futures. Adrian slowly stepped forward. Each floating book shimmered with memories. The Grand Keeper explained. Every book contains one complete future. Some never happened. Some almost happened. Some must never happen. Evelyn picked up a glowing blue book. This was my timeline. As she opened it, the pages transformed into living memories. Hospitals overwhelmed. Cities destroyed. Children crying. People searching desperately for medicine that had never been invented. Adrian quietly closed the book. Enough. Evelyn nodded silently. She understood. The Grand Keeper then handed Adrian a silver book. This one belongs to your first life. Adrian froze. Slowly, he opened it. The library disappeared. He stood once again inside his old penthouse. Older, alone, surrounded by awards, luxury, success, silence. A younger employee entered. Congratulations, Mr. Reyes. You've officially become the richest man in the world. Older Adrian simply nodded. Thank you. Then the room became empty again. No celebration. No family. No laughter. Nothing. Another memory appeared. Older Adrian sat alone eating instant noodles inside a luxurious mansion. Outside, fireworks celebrated New Year's Eve. His phone remained silent. No messages. No calls. No visitors. He quietly whispered, I wish, ... I had someone to celebrate with. Present-day Adrian slowly lowered his head. ... I forgot how lonely I was. Miles away, his family heard everything. Grandma quietly cried. Victor looked at Elena. He really had no one. Lucas hugged his grandfather tightly. He'll never be alone again. Back inside the library, Evelyn gently stood beside Adrian. Without saying a word, she handed him a handkerchief. Adrian accepted it. ... Thank you. The Grand Keeper smiled warmly. That is why this library exists. So no one repeats history. He walked toward a sealed black bookshelf. Unlike the others, its books were chained. No light escaped from them. The atmosphere suddenly grew heavy. Professor Emilio frowned. ... What's inside those? The Grand Keeper's smile disappeared. Our greatest failures. One chained book slowly floated forward. Its title read, The Final Tomorrow. Even the Grand Keeper hesitated. This future has never been prevented. Adrian quietly reached toward the book. The moment his fingers touched the cover, his vision turned white. He saw entire continents in flames, cities reduced to ash, oceans boiling, the sky cracked with strange, crimson lightning. Then, a single silhouette stood atop the ruins. Its face hidden. Only one sentence echoed across the broken world. Every future walker eventually fails. Adrian suddenly opened his eyes. He was back inside the library. His breathing remained calm, but everyone else looked frightened. Evelyn immediately stepped forward. What did you see? Adrian remained silent for several moments. Then quietly answered, ... A future where humanity loses. The library became completely silent. The Grand Keeper looked toward Adrian. I had hoped you wouldn't be able to see it. Professor Emilio frowned. What does that mean? The old man sighed. Only one person has ever successfully opened that book. Everyone looked at Adrian. The Grand Keeper continued. And that means you are now officially Chronos' greatest hope. Adrian quietly looked at the endless library surrounding him. Millions of futures. Millions of possibilities. Then, he smiled gently. ... Then, let's make sure none of those tragic futures become reality. Evelyn smiled beside him. Together, far beneath the library, inside a forgotten chamber that even Chronos had sealed centuries ago, a single ancient book slowly opened by itself. Its pages turned without anyone touching them. A name appeared on the final page. Adrian Reyes. A mysterious voice echoed through the darkness. The Keeper of Futures has awakened. The final tomorrow has begun. Chapter 4, The Boy Who Prevented Wars. 3 days later, life at the Reyes mansion returned to normal. At least, that was what Adrian wanted. He attended school, finished homework, helped his classmates, shared dinner with his family. Yet, every night, he couldn't stop thinking about the chained book. The final tomorrow. One quiet evening, a secure phone inside the mansion rang. Victor answered. His expression immediately became serious. He looked toward Adrian. It's for you. Adrian accepted the phone. ... Hello. Professor Emilio's voice came through. Come to Chronos immediately. We have an emergency. 1 hour later, inside Chronos headquarters, the atmosphere was completely different. Scientists hurried through the halls. Military advisors spoke in hushed voices. Dozens of holographic maps floated above the central chamber. Evelyn was already waiting. She looked worried. ... It's happening. The Grand Keeper activated the largest hologram. 2 neighboring countries glowed in red. Thousands of soldiers were gathering along the border. Warships surrounded the coastline. Fighter aircraft prepared for takeoff. Professor Emilio sighed. One misunderstanding. ... That's all it takes. If a single shot is fired, the war cannot be stopped. Adrian quietly studied the map. Then, his expression changed. ... This wasn't in my first timeline. Evelyn nodded. It happened in mine. She stepped closer. In my future, the conflict lasted 11 years. Over 30 million people died. The room fell silent. The Grand Keeper looked at Adrian. What would you do? Adrian closed his eyes. He remembered the Library of Lost Futures. Then he opened them. We stopped the misunderstanding. Everyone looked confused. The misunderstanding. Adrian pointed toward the map. The countries aren't fighting over land. They're fighting because they both believe the other attacked first. Professor Emilio frowned. But neither side has. Adrian nodded. Exactly. Evelyn quickly searched through Chronos' intelligence reports. Several minutes later, she looked up in shock. He's right. The evidence was fabricated. Someone was secretly trying to start a war. Adrian quietly walked toward the holographic display. He connected shipping records, satellite images, weather reports, communication logs. Within 20 minutes, a hidden pattern emerged. The attacks had originated from international waters, not from either country. Professor Emilio stared in disbelief. Someone framed them. The Grand Keeper immediately contacted world leaders. Chronos shared the evidence. Within hours, representatives from both nations agreed to an emergency meeting. Adrian remained in the background. He never appeared on camera. He never took credit. The negotiations lasted through the night. Finally, both presidents walked onto the stage together. One extended his hand. The other accepted it. Applause erupted throughout the conference hall. The soldiers received new orders. Stand down. The fleets returned home. The fighter jets landed. The war ended before it even began. The following morning, news stations around the world reported. Historic peace agreement prevents international conflict. Experts called it a miracle. Only Chronos knew. A quiet 17-year-old had prevented it. Back at the Reyes mansion, Adrian quietly entered through the front door. Grandma smiled. You're just in time. I made your favorite soup. Adrian smiled gently. Thanks. As he sat down, his family heard his thoughts. 30 million lives. They'll all wake up peacefully tomorrow. Victor quietly looked at his son. You saved them again. Adrian simply replied. Everyone deserves another tomorrow. Later that evening, Evelyn sent Adrian a short message. Good work today. A few seconds later, another message arrived. You still forgot to eat lunch. Adrian blinked. She noticed again. He replied with only 2 words. Sorry. Cold sweat smile. A moment later, his phone buzzed again. Next time, I'll remind you. For the first time, Adrian laughed while reading a text message. Deep beneath Chronos' headquarters, the Grand Keeper stood before the chained book titled The Final Tomorrow. Its pages slowly turned on their own. A single line vanished. Another appeared. The war that should have begun never happened. The old man smiled. So, the future really can be rewritten. But far away, inside a hidden fortress untouched by history, a hooded man slowly opened his eyes. Around him floated countless broken clocks. He smiled coldly. So, the Keeper of Futures has started moving. He stood. The game between future walkers finally begins. The room trembled. For the first time, a true enemy had stepped onto the stage. Chapter 5, Reunion of the World's Young Geniuses. 1 month later, peace continued across the world. The conflict that should have become an 11-year war had quietly disappeared from history. Only Chronos remembered what almost happened. For everyone else, life simply moved forward. Early one morning, Adrian received a message while eating breakfast. It was from the Global Future Initiative. International Young Innovators Summit. Location: Geneva, Switzerland. Guests: the world's brightest young minds. Lucas nearly jumped out of his chair. Kuya, you're going overseas again. Adrian smiled faintly. Looks like it. A week later, a private jet landed in Geneva. Representatives from over 80 countries had gathered. Scientists, inventors, medical researchers, young entrepreneurs, students. Professor Emilio looked around proudly. The future of humanity is in this building. Inside the conference hall, Adrian immediately recognized familiar faces. Daniel waved excitedly. Adrian, Mia smiled. It's been a while. Ethan, Claire, and Noah soon joined them. Then, students from the International Exchange Program approached. Akira from Japan, Soo-jin from South Korea, Emily from the United States, Oliver from the United Kingdom, Lena from Germany. One by one, his friends from around the world gathered around him. Daniel laughed. I knew you'd become even more famous. Adrian scratched his cheek. I'd rather not. Everyone laughed. Emily smiled. You still haven't changed. No. Oliver grinned. He's still the quietest genius in the room. The opening ceremony soon began. The chairman of the Global Future Initiative stood on stage. This summit has only one purpose. He smiled warmly. To build a better future together. Thunderous applause echoed throughout the hall. The participants were divided into international teams. Each team would spend 3 days creating a project that could improve life for millions of people. No competition. No rankings. Only cooperation. Adrian liked that. His team gathered around a circular table. Daniel asked, "So, what should we build?" Everyone looked toward Adrian. He thought quietly. Something every country needs. Then, he picked up a marker. A global disaster prediction network. The room fell silent. Adrian began sketching. A worldwide system connecting satellites, weather stations, earthquake sensors, ocean monitoring systems, and artificial intelligence. Instead of reacting to disasters, it would predict them days in advance. Evelyn, attending as Chronos observer, smiled quietly. That's exactly like Adrian. For the next 3 days, the team barely slept. Akira designed the satellite network. Emily developed the AI. Oliver created the communication protocol. Soo-jin built the robotics support system. Lena optimized the environmental sensors. Daniel and Mia refined the engineering. Adrian walked between them, quietly offering advice. Good idea. Try lowering the power consumption. This algorithm can be simplified. Excellent work. His calm guidance brought the entire team together. Late on the final night, everyone gathered on the rooftop of the convention center. The city lights sparkled beneath the stars. Daniel stretched his arms. I've never worked this hard. Emily laughed. I've also never had this much fun. Oliver smiled. I hope we can do this every year. Adrian quietly looked around. His friends, from every corner of the world, working together without caring about nationality. This is the future I wanted. Back at the Reyes mansion, his family heard every word. Grandma smiled while preparing dinner. Our Adrian sounds happy. Victor nodded. He finally has friends who truly understand him. Lucas proudly declared. Kuya has teammates from the whole world now. The next morning, each team presented its project. When Adrian's team demonstrated the Global Disaster Prediction Network, the audience stood in silence. Live simulations accurately predicted earthquakes, typhoons, floods, volcanic eruptions, and tsunami risks. The chairman slowly removed his glasses. If this system is built, millions of lives could be saved every year. The audience erupted into applause. Instead of announcing a winner, the chairman smiled. There will be no first place. Every project here deserves to become reality. The young geniuses applauded one another. No disappointment, only respect, only hope. As the summit ended, everyone exchanged contact information. Akira smiled. Let's keep building together. Emily nodded. This is only the beginning. Oliver extended his hand. No matter where we live, we're one team. Adrian looked at all of them, then quietly shook every hand. Together. That evening, before boarding his flight home, Evelyn joined Adrian at the airport observation deck. She smiled. You made friends again. Adrian nodded. This life is very different. It is. She looked toward the sunset. And that's a good thing. Adrian smiled. Yeah, far away. Inside, the hidden fortress beyond Chronos' surveillance. The hooded man watched the summit through dozens of floating screens. So, the world's geniuses are uniting. He slowly closed his hand. One screen shattered. Then, I'll divide them. Behind him, several mysterious figures stepped out of the shadows. Each wore a silver hourglass unlike Chronos. Their leader spoke quietly. The time has come. The false future walkers will begin their move. For the first time, Adrian's greatest enemy would not be someone seeking war, but someone seeking to rewrite the future itself. Chapter 6, Humanity's Greatest Project. Several weeks after the International Young Innovators Summit, representatives from more than 100 countries gathered at the headquarters of the Global Future Initiative. Scientists, doctors, teachers, engineers, environmental experts, Humanitarian organizations. For the first time in history, so many nations had united for one purpose. Not to compete, but to build a better future. Inside the massive conference hall, Chairman Miguel Valencia stood before the audience. Ladies and gentlemen, today, we begin humanity's greatest project. Thunderous applause filled the room. Professor Emilio smiled proudly. This is the moment we've been working toward. Adrian quietly sat in the back row. Just as he preferred. I hope nobody asks me to give a speech. Downstairs, back at the Reyes mansion, his family heard his thoughts. Lucas laughed. Kuya wants to hide again. Grandma smiled. Our little genius never changes. The chairman continued. The Global Future Initiative will launch 5 worldwide programs. Large holograms appeared above the stage. Project Lifeline, affordable healthcare for every community. Project Clear Water, clean drinking water for remote villages. Project Green Earth, renewable energy and reforestation. Project Safe Tomorrow, global disaster prediction network. Project Bright Future, free AI-assisted education for children everywhere. The audience stood and applauded. Chairman Valencia smiled. These projects were inspired by one quiet young man. Thousands of eyes turned toward Adrian. He slowly looked down. Please don't. The chairman laughed. Adrian, would you join me on stage? The entire hall applauded. With a small sigh, Adrian stood, standing before leaders from around the world. He looked surprisingly calm. The microphone was placed before him. Silence filled the hall. After several moments, he finally spoke. I don't want to change the world alone. Everyone listened. I want everyone to build it together. Silence. Then, the entire hall erupted into applause. Some people even wiped away tears. Professor Emilio quietly smiled. That's Adrian. He always says the most with the fewest words. Over the next several months, the 5 projects began. In Africa, solar-powered water purification stations provided clean drinking water to villages for the first time. In Southeast Asia, the Global Disaster Prediction Network warned communities before powerful typhoons made landfall. Millions evacuated safely. In South America, portable miracle scanners reached mountain clinics that had never owned advanced medical equipment. Children received life-saving diagnoses. In remote islands, students attended virtual classrooms powered by AI learning assistants. Around the world, hope quietly spread. One evening, Adrian and Evelyn visited one of the newly opened rural clinics. An elderly doctor greeted them. He smiled warmly. Young man, I've been a doctor for 40 years. I've never saved this many patients. He gently held the miracle scanner. Thank you. Adrian smiled softly. I'm glad it helped. Outside, a little girl approached Adrian. She held a drawing in her hands. It showed a smiling family. Doctors, teachers, trees, the sun, and Adrian standing in the corner. She shyly handed it to him. For you. Adrian blinked. For me. The little girl nodded. Because my mommy came home. Silence. Adrian carefully accepted the drawing. Thank you. Evelyn quietly watched. She smiled. In every future, I've never seen you happier. Back at the Reyes mansion, the family heard Adrian's thoughts. This drawing is worth more than every award I've ever received. Grandma wiped away tears. Victor smiled proudly. Our son still treasures kindness above everything. Late that night, Chronos called an emergency meeting. The Grand Keeper stood before a holographic map. Something was wrong. Across several countries, the 5 humanitarian projects had suddenly begun experiencing mysterious failures. Communication satellites went offline. Water purification systems malfunctioned. Medical shipments disappeared. Power grids shut down without explanation. Professor Emilio frowned. This can't be a coincidence. Evelyn looked toward Adrian. They're here. Adrian quietly nodded. The false future walkers. The Grand Keeper activated a security recording. A hooded figure appeared on the screen. He calmly looked directly into the camera. Almost as if he knew Adrian was watching. Then he smiled. We're not trying to destroy humanity. We're simply giving it the future it deserves. The transmission ended. Silence filled the room. Adrian slowly clenched his fist. For the first time, someone was using knowledge of the future. Not to save lives, but to manipulate them. The battle for tomorrow had truly begun. Chapter 7. The Genius Who Refused Power. The attacks by the false future walkers continued. Communication satellites were restored. Medical shipments resumed. Water purification stations came back online. Thanks to the combined efforts of Chronos, the Global Future Initiative, and Adrian's friends around the world. Every act of sabotage was stopped. For now, 1 month later, Adrian returned to what he loved most. School. The familiar classroom. The laughter of his classmates. The peaceful afternoons beneath the acacia tree. He quietly opened his lunchbox. Grandma made fried chicken today. Daniel laughed. You're smiling because of food again. Adrian nodded. It's good. Everyone laughed. Even after becoming one of the world's most respected young geniuses. Adrian was still Adrian. That afternoon, Professor Emilio arrived unexpectedly. Adrian, we need to leave. The old scientist looked unusually serious. Several hours later, Adrian entered an enormous conference hall. Flags from nearly every nation decorated the room. Presidents, prime ministers, kings, queens, scientists, business leaders, representatives from international organizations, the most influential people on Earth had gathered. Professor Emilio quietly explained, "This is the Global Leadership Assembly. They've requested one thing." Adrian tilted his head. What? The chairman of the assembly stepped onto the stage. He smiled warmly. Adrian Reyes, the world has witnessed your compassion, your inventions, your leadership. We believe there is only one person capable of guiding humanity into a better future. The hall became silent. Then, he announced, "We wish to appoint you as the first Supreme Director of the Global Future Initiative." Gasps echoed throughout the room. The position would place Adrian above the organization's entire leadership. It was one of the most influential roles in the world. Everyone waited. Professor Emilio looked at Adrian. Evelyn quietly smiled. She already knew the answer. Adrian slowly walked to the microphone. He looked around the hall. Then, he bowed respectfully. "I'm honored." A pause. But I decline. Silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The chairman blinked. May we ask why? Adrian smiled gently. "I don't want the world to depend on one person." He continued, "If humanity's future depends only on me, then I've already failed." He looked toward the leaders. The future should belong to everyone. It should be built together, not ruled. The room remained silent. Then, one leader began clapping. Another joined. Soon, the entire hall stood in applause. Professor Emilio quietly wiped away tears. "I've worked with world leaders for decades." I've never heard a better answer. Evelyn smiled proudly. That's exactly why he'll never seek power. Instead of accepting the position, Adrian proposed something different. A global council. Every nation, every culture, every generation, working together equally. The leaders discussed the idea for hours. Finally, it was approved unanimously. The Supreme Director position was abolished before it had ever existed. Instead, the Global Council for Humanity was born. No single ruler, only cooperation. News spread across the world. Young genius refuses world's most powerful position. People were stunned. Some called him foolish. Others called him inspiring. Millions simply admired his humility. Back at the Reyes mansion, Lucas excitedly ran through the house. Kuya turned down the biggest promotion ever. Grandpa laughed loudly. "That's our Adrian." Grandma smiled while serving dinner. "I knew he'd choose family dinners over politics." The whole family laughed. That evening, Adrian quietly helped Lucas with his math homework. Lucas looked up. "Kuya, why didn't you become the boss?" Adrian smiled. "Because being your big brother is more important." Lucas immediately hugged him. Best answer ever. Inside the kitchen, the family secretly listened. Victor smiled proudly. "Our son still knows what truly matters." Later that night, inside Chronos' headquarters, the Grand Keeper looked at Adrian. "You've just changed another future. In one timeline, you accepted that position, and eventually, you carried the world's burdens alone." Adrian quietly looked out the window. Not this time. Deep inside the hidden fortress, the leader of the false future walkers watched Adrian's speech. He slowly smiled. So, you refused power. He looked toward his followers. Excellent. That means, we'll destroy the people around you instead. The room fell silent. One by one, the names of Adrian's friends appeared on dozens of floating screens. Daniel, Mia, Ethan, Claire, Noah, Akira, Emily, Oliver, Soo Jin, Lena, even, the Reyes family. The hooded leader whispered, "Let's see how long the silent genius can protect everyone." For the first time, the people Adrian treasured most had become the enemy's targets. Chapter 8, The Family That Changed the Future. The morning after the Global Leadership Assembly, life inside the Reyes mansion remained wonderfully ordinary. Grandma Teresa prepared breakfast. Grandpa Raphael watered the flowers. Lucas chased the family dog around the garden. Olivia practiced the piano. Victor read the morning newspaper. Elena hummed softly while setting the table. Adrian quietly watched them all. A gentle smile appeared on his face. This is the future I wanted to protect. The family heard his thoughts. Everyone smiled. Later that morning, Chronos' headquarters. The Grand Keeper stood before a wall filled with glowing timeline records. Several books had changed color. Professor Emilio looked surprised. More timelines have stabilized. The Grand Keeper nodded. Not because Adrian invented new technology. He looked at a glowing image of the Reyes family. But because he was loved. The room fell silent. Evelyn tilted her head. What do you mean? The Grand Keeper smiled. In Adrian's first life, he became the richest man in the world. But he had no family. No home. No one waiting for him. He pointed to another timeline. This second life changed because every time Adrian doubted himself, someone believed in him. At that moment, a large hologram appeared. It showed dozens of moments from Adrian's second life. Grandma reminding him to eat. Victor placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Elena hugging him after a difficult day. Lucas cheering every small achievement. Grandpa laughing with him in the garden. Olivia encouraging him whenever he looked tired. Professor Emilio smiled warmly. So, the Reyes family didn't just raise a genius. They protected one. Back at the mansion, a television crew arrived outside the gate. Reporters from around the world had gathered. Their request was unusual. They didn't want to interview Adrian. They wanted to interview his family. Victor looked confused. Us. The reporter nodded. People around the world want to know. How did the world's greatest young genius become the person he is today? At first, the family politely refused. But Adrian quietly spoke. It's okay. They deserve recognition too. Everyone looked at him. Without them, I'd probably become the lonely billionaire again. Grandma quietly wiped away tears. That afternoon, the interview was broadcast worldwide. The reporter asked Victor, "What was your secret to raising Adrian?" Victor smiled. "We never tried to raise a genius. We just loved our son." The reporter turned to Elena. "Were you ever afraid he would fail?" Elena gently shook her head. "No, I was only afraid he'd carry everything alone." Grandpa Raphael laughed. "When Adrian makes mistakes, we teach him. When he succeeds, we celebrate together." Grandma Teresa smiled brightly. "My most important job is making sure he never skips meals." The audience laughed warmly. Lucas immediately raised his hand. "And I'm in charge of making Kuya smile." Even Adrian laughed quietly. The interview spread across the internet. Millions watched. Comments flooded social media. "Now I understand why Adrian is so kind. His family is amazing. The greatest invention wasn't the miracle scanner. It was unconditional love." Several days later, letters began arriving at the Reyes mansion. Thousands of them. Children, parents, teachers, doctors, families from around the world. Many simply wrote, "Thank you for raising Adrian." Grandma carefully placed every letter into a wooden box. "We'll treasure these forever." That evening, Adrian quietly sat beside the koi pond. Evelyn joined him. She smiled. "Your family has become famous." Adrian sighed softly. Sorry. She laughed. "I don't think they're complaining." Inside the mansion, Lucas shouted proudly, "We're international celebrities now." Everyone burst into laughter. Meanwhile, inside the hidden fortress, the leader of the false future walkers watched the interview. His expression remained unreadable. So, the source of Adrian's strength was never his intelligence. He looked toward the image of the Reyes family. It was them. One of his followers asked. Do we proceed with the attack? The leader slowly shook his head. No. If we harm them, Adrian will become unpredictable. He smiled coldly. Instead, we'll separate them. Inside Chronos, an emergency alarm suddenly echoed throughout the headquarters. Red warning lights illuminated every corridor. The Grand Keeper looked toward the central monitor. His face turned pale. No. Professor Emilio rushed forward. What happened? The Grand Keeper pointed toward the timeline display. One glowing thread, representing the Reyes family, had suddenly begun to fade. Someone was attempting to erase the bond that had changed history itself. Adrian immediately stood. We're too late, with the glowing timeline flickering violently. As the greatest attack against Adrian's future had finally begun. Chapter 9, Beyond the End of History. Red warning lights flashed throughout Chronos' headquarters. Emergency alarms echoed across every corridor. Scientists rushed toward the central timeline chamber. Future walkers gathered in silence. For the first time in Chronos' history, the timeline of hope was becoming unstable. The Grand Keeper stood before the massive hourglass of time. Its once brilliant golden light had begun to flicker. One glowing thread, the thread representing the Reyes family, was slowly fading. Professor Emilio's face turned pale. This shouldn't be possible. The past has already happened. The Grand Keeper slowly shook his head. They aren't changing the past. They're attacking the future. Meanwhile, at the Reyes mansion, everything seemed perfectly normal. Grandma was baking cookies. Grandpa watered the roses. Lucas and Olivia argued over a board game. Victor was reading in the living room. Elena hummed while preparing tea. Only Adrian noticed something strange. He quietly looked around the house. Why does everything feel distant? His family heard his thoughts. Lucas frowned. What do you mean, Kuya? Before Adrian could answer, his phone rang. It was Evelyn. Adrian, you need to come to Chronos. Now. 1 hour later, Chronos' headquarters. The central timeline chamber was completely silent. The Grand Keeper pointed toward the hourglass. Look closely. Adrian stared at the fading thread. Suddenly, memories flashed before his eyes. Not his own memories, but countless possibilities. In one future, Victor no longer recognized Adrian. In another, Grandma had forgotten his favorite meals. In another, Lucas walked past Adrian at school, as though they had never been brothers. Adrian immediately stepped back. No. Evelyn looked at him. What did you see? Adrian clenched his fist. They're trying to erase our bond. Professor Emilio whispered. If your family forgets you, the timeline that created the silent genius disappears. The Grand Keeper activated an ancient hologram. A hidden fortress appeared. This is the citadel beyond time. It exists outside every timeline. It is the headquarters of the false future walkers. Evelyn frowned. They've hidden there for centuries. No ordinary technology can find it. Adrian quietly studied the map. Then, he noticed something. Wait. He pointed towards several glowing symbols. They aren't hiding. They're waiting. Everyone looked at him. The citadel only appears when two timelines overlap. Professor Emilio's eyes widened. Which means, Adrian finished the sentence. We don't search for it. We predict where it'll appear. For the next 12 hours, Chronos' greatest minds worked together. Adrian, Evelyn, Professor Emilio, the world's brightest scientists. Complex equations covered entire walls. Millions of timeline simulations were calculated. Finally, a single location remained. An isolated island in the Arctic Ocean. Only for 7 minutes. The Grand Keeper smiled. You found it. But there's a problem. The gateway only allows 3 people. Silence filled the room. Professor Emilio immediately spoke. I'm too old. This mission belongs to you. Evelyn stepped beside Adrian. I'm coming. Adrian nodded. Together, the Grand Keeper looked toward them. And one more. Everyone turned. A familiar voice echoed behind them. I believe. I'll be useful. The speaker stepped into the light. It was Chairman Miguel Valencia. The billionaire smiled warmly. I may not remember another future, but I know how to protect one. Back at the Reyes mansion, Adrian returned home before the mission. He didn't tell his family everything. He simply wanted one peaceful dinner. Grandma served his favorite fried chicken. Lucas excitedly talked about school. Grandpa laughed louder than ever. Victor poured everyone tea. Elena smiled as she watched them. Adrian quietly looked around the table. Please, let this never disappear. The entire family heard his thoughts. No one spoke. Instead, Grandma gently placed another piece of chicken onto his plate. Victor rested a hand on his shoulder. Lucas hugged him without warning. Elena smiled through tears. Grandpa laughed. Whatever tomorrow brings, we'll always be your family. Adrian smiled. Thank you. The next morning, the Arctic expedition began. A Chronos aircraft flew through a violent snowstorm. 7 minutes. That was all they had. The sky suddenly cracked with brilliant silver light. A massive floating fortress appeared above the frozen sea. Ancient. Impossible. Outside of time itself. The citadel beyond time had revealed itself. As Adrian, Evelyn, and Chairman Valencia stepped through the shimmering gateway, the hooded leader of the false future walkers smiled. I've been expecting you. Keeper of futures. The massive gates slowly closed behind them. There was no turning back. The final battle for humanity's tomorrow had begun. Chapter 10. The Future Beyond Tomorrow. The gates of the citadel beyond time slowly closed. Silence echoed through the ancient fortress. Adrian, Evelyn, Chairman Miguel Valencia, the three stood before the leader of the false future walkers. Around them, thousands of broken clocks floated through the air. Every ticking sound echoed like the heartbeat of history itself. The hooded leader slowly removed his cloak. He appeared to be a man in his late 30s. His silver hair reached his shoulders. His crimson eyes were calm. There was no hatred in them. Only sadness. My name is Orion. I was once a future walker. The room fell silent. The grand hall transformed into a giant hologram. Countless timelines surrounded them. Peaceful worlds. Ruined civilizations. Empty planets. Orion raised his hand. I've watched humanity destroy itself. Thousands of times. Wars. Greed. Hatred. Fear. They always return. He looked directly at Adrian. So I reached one conclusion. The future cannot be trusted to humanity. Evelyn stepped forward. So you decided to control it. Orion nodded. If every choice is predetermined, no one can choose wrong. Adrian quietly listened. Then, he shook his head. No. Orion looked surprised. You've seen the same futures I have. Why refuse? Adrian smiled gently. Because people can change. He thought of Grandpa laughing in the garden. Of Grandma reminding him to eat. Of Lucas cheering every achievement. Of his parents believing in him. Of Olivia playing the piano. Of Daniel and the others. Of Evelyn. None of them had followed destiny. They had chosen kindness. Adrian looked toward Orion. My first life proved. Wealth alone couldn't make me happy. My second life proved. Love can change history. Silence filled the hall. Orion activated one final projection. The terrifying future Adrian had seen inside the chained book. The final tomorrow. Burning skies. Broken continents. Endless darkness. Can you stop this? Orion asked quietly. Adrian looked carefully. Then, he noticed something. One tiny light still remained. He smiled. It's not over. Orion frowned. What? Adrian pointed toward the light. As long as even one person chooses hope, the future is never decided. For the first time in centuries, Orion hesitated. His countless simulations had never considered hope as a variable. At that exact moment, the Chronos bracelet on Adrian's wrist began glowing. Then Evelyn's. Then Chairman Valencia's. Far away, every person Adrian had inspired. Doctors, scientists, teachers, students, families, friends. Their acts of kindness created countless new timeline threads. The hourglass of time inside Chronos' headquarters shone brighter than ever before. The fading thread of the Reyes family became brilliant gold. Then, thousands of new golden threads appeared. The future was rewriting itself. Back at the Reyes mansion, the family suddenly heard Adrian's thoughts. I'm coming home. Grandma smiled through tears. We know. Victor looked toward the night sky. Our son. Already won. Inside the citadel, the entire fortress began to tremble. The broken clocks slowly stopped. Then, they all began moving forward together. For the first time, Orion quietly lowered his head. So, there really was another future. Adrian walked toward him. He offered his hand. Come with us. Help us build it. Orion stared silently. Then, slowly, he accepted. Outside, the citadel beyond time dissolved into countless particles of light. The false future walkers laid down their weapons. Not because they had lost, but because they had finally found hope again. Chronos welcomed them, not as prisoners, but as allies. Several weeks later, the world continued changing. The global disaster prediction network became fully operational. Clean water reached even more remote villages. The miracle scanner became standard equipment in hospitals worldwide. Free AI education expanded across continents. Forests once destroyed began growing again. Not because of Adrian alone, but because millions of people chose to help one another. One quiet evening, Adrian finally returned home. The front door opened. Lucas immediately tackled him with a hug. Kuya. Grandma rushed over. I made your favorite dinner. Grandpa laughed loudly. Victor smiled proudly. Elena hugged him tightly. Olivia happily showed him a new piano piece she had learned. Adrian quietly looked around. The warm lights, the laughter, the familiar smell of home. A peaceful smile appeared on his face. This is enough. His family heard every word. Grandma gently pinched his cheek. And dessert is waiting. Everyone laughed. Later that night, Adrian stood beside the koi pond. Evelyn joined him. The stars reflected across the calm water. She smiled. So, what happens now? Adrian looked toward the peaceful mansion. Then toward the endless night sky. The future belongs to everyone. Far away, inside the library of lost futures, the chained book titled The Final Tomorrow slowly disappeared. In its place, a brand new golden book appeared. Its title read, The Future Beyond Tomorrow. The Grand Keeper smiled. So history has changed. Once again, he carefully placed the new book onto the highest shelf. The greatest future is the one humanity chooses together. End of Volume 3. Coming in Volume 4, The Era of Infinite Possibilities. With humanity finally united, Adrian enters a new chapter of life. As the world reaches for the stars, mysterious civilizations beyond Earth begin watching humanity's rapid progress. A peaceful future awaits, but beyond the sky, an even greater adventure is about to begin. Thank you for listening to II Fiction Stories. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. See you next time.